Everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm finally going to be filming for you my December TBR. For the month of December, I am only going to be participating in one readathon, which is less than normal for me, but I think it's smart if I want to reach all of my goals for the end of the year. I have about 4 books that I'm currently reading right now that I want to try and finish, but that's just off the TBR. I'm not counting that as part of my TBR because that would just be too crazy. But I am going to be participating in the Reindeer Readathon hosted by Eric over at Break-Even Books. I'll leave his announcement video and his Twitter page for the readathon down below. It's a Christmas-themed readathon, holiday-themed readathon, and each prompt is named after a different reindeer from Santa's Reindeers. I did this last year. If you sign up to the readathon, you'll get an email with all the prompts, and you will get assigned to a different team. I am on Team Snowflake, which is super fun because I'm pretty sure I was on Team Snowflake last year. But regardless, there are 9 prompts, and there are also some extra special prompts that you can do if you finished all of the 9 prompts. Like if you read an ebook, an audiobook, or I think a book over 500 pages, you get extra points for your team, but I'm just gonna go for the main 9 and see how I go. And then I have my graphic novel pick for the month, my buzzword pick for the month, and then a special little thing that I'll be talking about at the end. So yeah, let's just get started. So the first book that I'm going to be reading for the month of December is my graphic novel pick for the month, and that is going to be Saga Volume 3 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. This is a beloved sci-fi graphic novel series that is basically Romeo and Juliet in space with aliens. The art style is absolutely stunning. I adore it very much. This is the next one that I have to complete. I think they're up to like 12 or 13 or something like that. There's a lot of volumes, but this is the last one that I have. And I'm really excited to get to it. I really enjoy this series. It's probably like a 4 out of 5 for me overall as a series right now, but I really do enjoy it, and I think it'll be fun to finish off my volumes that I own. So that'll be fun. Next up is going to be my buzzword pick for the month, and for this month we are doing, I think it's name of a month or a season in the title. So I am going to be reading We Met in December by Rosie Curtis. I've had this on my TBR for over a year. I got this for last Christmas and never read it. This follows 2 main characters. It says, following a year in the life of a 20-something British woman who falls hard for her London flatmate, this clever, fun, and unforgettable romantic comedy is the perfect feel-good holiday read. So basically, this woman fulfills her dream of moving to London and ends up falling for her roommate. And it takes place over the course of a year. I'm super excited, so I think this will be a good way to ease into the holiday adult romances, because that's pretty much my entire TBR, because that's all I've been able to make myself read for the last couple months. But I think it's going to be a really fun time. Next up is the start of the Reindeer Readathon prompts. The very first one is Dasher, and the prompt is to read a novella. I'm going to be reading Wrapped Up in You by Talia Hibbert. I have this on my Kobo app on my phone. This is a Kobo exclusive novella written by Talia Hibbert, who wrote the incredible Brown Sisters trilogy. And this follows 2 main characters who are best friends from childhood. One has grown up to be a Hollywood star, and the 2 end up kind of stuck at this cabin over Christmas with their the one girl's grandmother, and end up having to deal with their unrequited feelings and stuff like that. I've heard this is a really cute little novella, and I can't wait to read it. I've again had it on my TBR for much too long, so it is time to give it a read. Next up is Dancer, and the prompt is to read a book by one of your favorite authors. For this, I'm going to be reading In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. This tells the story of Malin Jones, May, who is kind of in a rut this holiday season and is really sad because she's spending her last holiday at this cabin in Utah that her family always spend the holidays in. So she's in kind of a rough spot, and on her way home she ends up throwing out like a plea to the universe to show her where she's supposed to go for her life, and she ends up getting into a car accident that kind of starts her on a bit of a Groundhog Day kind of loop. She ends up back on the plane to Utah and is stuck in a time loop, reliving the same day over and over and over again until she can break herself free. I've heard this is hilarious. I've heard this is great and right up the style of Christina Lauren, who's a duo author. I read their book Twice in a Blue Moon back in the spring, and I adored it, so I can't wait to get to this. I think it's going to be a really fun time. Next up is Prancer, and the prompt is to read a book featuring travel. For this, I'm going to be reading Royal Holiday by Jasmine Guillory. This is, I believe, the 4th book in the Wedding Date series. Like, again, they're all standalone, so I can read them out of order. I'm actually currently reading The Wedding Date, so it'll be interesting to see if I can get to this and understand what's going on. This tells the story of Vivian, who is the mother of one of the characters in one of the other books in this series. Her daughter ends up on this crazy trip to London over the holidays in order to style a member of the royal family. And her mother Vivian gets to tag along. She's never been out of the country more than once, so she's very excited to go on this whirlwind trip. She ends up meeting Malcolm, who's a private secretary to the Queen, and the two of them hit it off, and it's kind of like a whirlwind holiday romance. I'm very excited. I've heard amazing things about Jasmine Guillory's work. I'm really enjoying The Wedding Date, so I think it's going to be a really fun time, and I love a book set in England. It's just going to be great. Next up is Vixen, and the prompt is to read a book that recently caught your eye. For that, I'm going to be reading The Matzo Ball by Jean Meltzer. This tells the story of Rachel, who is a good Jewish girl, but she has a secret, and that secret is that she loves Christmas. She has hidden her career as a Christmas romance novelist from her family for years, and she enjoys writing about the holidays, her favorite warm and cheery season, despite dealing with her chronic illness. But one day her publisher, who is on a diversity and inclusion kick, is urging her to write a Hanukkah romance, and her inspiration runs dry. She ends up trying to find her inspiration by going to the Matzo Ball, which is a Jewish music celebration on the last night of Hanukkah in her hometown, and she ends up having to work with her arch enemy from summer camp when she was a teenager, named Jacob. This is like a kind of haters to lovers kind of situation. It is going to be super fun. I've never read anything about Hanukkah before, so I think this is going to be a really fun twist on a holiday classic, something that I've never experienced before and I'm excited to read. I think it's going to be super fun and I can't wait to get to it. Next up is Comet, and this prompt is to read a 5-star prediction. This I'm going to be reading We Met in London by Georgia Tofolo. I had the pleasure of being a part of HarperCollins Canada's Frenzy Presents back in the summer, where Georgia did a little video for the presentation about this book, and it looks so fun. This tells the story of Victoria Scott, who's an aspiring fashion designer and has always wanted to open up her own boutique in London, in Chelsea, but after her ex kind of cheated her out of her big break, she knows it's not going to be happening anytime soon. Then a large department store opens up down the road from where she wants to open her boutique, and her dreams seemed completely dashed. In comes Oliver. Oliver is the brains behind this department store. He is one half of the owner, and with his father's health declining, Oliver makes a crazy proposition to Victoria, and that is to pretend to be his girlfriend for a family Christmas party in order to make his family happy, and then in return he will showcase her designs in his department store. But then fake dating turns into fake engaged, and this story just gets crazy and crazier, more tangled, and they have to try and find their way out. I love fake dating. I love A Christmas Story. I love it set in London. I think there's literally nothing about this I'm not gonna like, so I'm really excited to read this. Next up is Cupid, and the prompt is to read a book from an author that is new to you. For that, I'm going to be reading The 12 Dates of Christmas by Jenny Bayliss. This I also got last year for Christmas and never read. This tells the story of Kate, who lives in a small little town of Blacksford, England. She's 34 years old and has no real romantic prospects. But she's found career success, has a side business selling baked goods, and seems to be happy in every respect except for romance. But then her friend signs her up for a dating agency that promises to find people a match before the holidays. She's got 23 days until Christmas, and 12 dates are scheduled in that time, and every date goes crazier and crazier and crazier until she finds out that maybe she has been close by to what she needed all along. Again, I think this is going to be super fun and really funny, and I'm, again, very excited to read this. That's all I really know about it. I've never read anything by Jenny Bayliss before, and I think it's going to be a fun time. Next up is Donner, and the prompt is to read something with either red or green predominantly displayed on the cover. For that, I'm going to be reading Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. This is another adult romance set in, I believe, New York City. All I know from the synopsis of this is that our main character ends up in front of the impressive Vivant department store Christmas decorations and window dressings, kind of like the Bay or Macy's windows in New York City. She's staring at the in her opinion, disgusting display of red and green. When a man walks up to her and asks what she thinks, she says her opinion, and finds out that he actually owns the place, and he ends up hiring her to make them look better. This sounds like a super cute little book. I've never read anything by Tessa Bailey, but I've heard really great things about it, and I think it's going to be a super fun time. I think it reminds me very much the cover of like Confessions of a Shopaholic, and then it's set at Christmas time. I think it's going to be a fun time. Next up is Blitzen, and for this one you're required to get somebody else to pick a book from your TBR, so I ended up doing a poll on Twitter, and the book that was chosen was Murder Most Festive, A Christmas Mystery by Ada Montgrave. This I'm super excited for. This takes place on Christmas in 1938. And it says, the Westbury family and assorted friends have gathered for another legendary celebration at their beautiful country house. Champagne flows, the silver sparkles, and upstairs the rooms are ready for their occupants. But one bed will lie empty that night. On Christmas morning, David Campbell Scott is found dead in the snow. A pistol lies beside him and only one set of footprints lead to his body. It should be an open and shut case. But to the amateur sleuth Hugh Gaveston, the tragedy seems more complex than the evidence implies. Campbell Scott had just returned from overseas with untold wealth. Why would he kill himself? And if Campbell Scott didn't hold the gun to his own head, the question becomes who did. I've heard this is the beginning of a kind of holiday-themed murder mystery series a la Agatha Christie, which are some of my favorite types of murder mysteries. And I am very excited to get to this. I'm very excited it was picked for this prompt. It's going to be super fun and a nice little way to break up the romance that I've got going on. It'll be a nice little break, and I'm very excited. Next, the last prompt for Reindeer Readathon is Rudolph, and the prompt is to read a standalone book. For this, I'm going to be reading Mistletoe and Mr. Right by Sarah Morgenthau. This is the second book in the Moose Springs series. The first book I read just at the time of filming. I just read it a few days ago. The first book is called The Tourist Attraction. I'm super excited about this. This is a Christmas-themed sequel, and it follows the main character, Lana, who is a side character in the first book. Lana has just relocated to Moose Springs. She's always been a tourist until now, and it says here, Lana Montgomery is everything a quirky small town of Moose Springs, Alaska can't stand, a rich socialite with dreams of changing things for the better. But Lana's determined to prove that she belongs, even if that means trading her stilettos for snow boots and tracking one of the town's hairiest Christmas mysteries, the Santa Moose, an altered Grinch hell-bent on destroying every part of holiday cheer and tinsel it can sink its teeth into. She ends up accidentally shooting a tranquilizer dart at another member of the town. His name is Rick. He owns one of the pubs in town, and the two of them end up hitting it off. And they end up teaming up to try and find this Santa Moose. I think this is going to be super fun, and I loved the tourist attraction so much. It was hilarious, it was witty, it was clever, it was absolutely heartbreaking, it made me cry, and it was just such a great feel-good romance that I'm so excited to continue this series. Finally, the last book that I'm going to be reading during the month of December is actually The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. This is the first book in the Winter Night trilogy, and I've read it before, but me and my friend Rachel are actually going to be hosting a read-along of the entire Winter Night trilogy, reading the first book December, second book in January, and third book in February. I have an announcement video on that coming soon. I'm very excited about it. Rachel's very excited about it. I'll leave her announcement video down below because she's already uploaded hers. I'm just behind as usual. But it's going to be a super fun time. The Bear and the Nightingale follows our main character Vasya, who is a young Russian girl who's able to see all of the different house spirits that live in her home, and she ends up getting roped into this crazy adventure with Morozov, who is a winter spirit that lives in the woods behind her home. It's a wonderful wintry read. I absolutely adored it the first time I read it, and I can't wait to complete the series. I've read the first two books, but I haven't finished the third. Rachel's in the same boat, so we decided to host this read-along for everybody else that wanted to read it. I have the Twitter page linked down below as well, and once I have my announcement, I will leave it in a card in the top right corner here. I'm super excited to read it, and I think it's going to be a really good time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you are new here, please subscribe. I put out new bookish and writing videos every week. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know down below what books you are planning on reading during the month of December. Have a great day. Bye-bye.